What's up, Buffs Nation? It's that time of year. Fall camp is about to start, so we decided it's time for us to introduce to you the Colorado Buffaloes coaching staff for the 2024-25 season. So what we're going to do here is we're going to break down the coaching staff. We'll go through each position coach. We'll go through each coordinator. Of course, talk about Prime. But we're really going to dive into the NFL experience that's coming in there because they've got some analysts on the staff that you guys need to know about that really kind of helps tip the scale for what Colorado is trying to do. And so make sure y'all sit back, relax, grab your favorite snack. We're going to dive into the coaching staff at Colorado here on the Prime Time for College Football. All right, you know where we got to lead things off at, right? We've got to go to the man, the myth, the legend himself. Of course, we got to talk about first, Coach Prime. Exactly. So Coach Prime comes up here to Colorado from, of course, Jackson State. This is his second season here. Went 4-8 last year, which is an improvement from 1-11 the year before. Has done a lot of overhauling on the players, right? And his goal is to come in and provide a professional mentality and system. He wants these dudes to feel like they're playing for an NFL coach. And so he's putting the pressure on their backs, which we appreciate. And hey, I'm going to be honest. There's a lot of opportunity here for these players to really, really, really grow underneath Prime. And so the thing that jumps out to me the most here is that Prime is also taking time to overhaul his staff, right? He has decided that for them, the one thing that they need to do is they have got to get better about, what they're doing daily within their systems. And so, of course, he brought out, a whole new coaching staff. He brought out some new folks to join him. And so we're going to jump into each one of these position coaches. Of course, we'll have a picture up with them. Let's talk about the ones that have been here first, and then we're going to go into it. But, of course, with Prime, he's one of the greatest DBs to ever play the game. He comes in here with a long resume, Hall of Famer, multiple Super Bowl champs, the only dude to ever play in a World Series and a Super Bowl. He's done it all. And so he's trying to bring that to these players. First staff member, though, we're going to talk about here is Coach Gary Herold, a.k.a. Flea. So Coach Flea has been with Prime for a bit, right? And he's one of those coaches that's kind of like that linchpin. He is the assistant head coach. He's got a lot of experience. He's got a lot of coaching stuff, right? But he spent a couple of years with the New York Giants in the NFL. And so he has some NFL playing experience, but he spent most of his time here in the collegiate ranks, which is a big deal, right? So you got to have some experience at the college ranks. You got to want to have a guy that's had some experience as a offensive coordinator. He's an OC for 2 years at Bowie State, spent some time at Morgan State. So he's kind of moved around and has got some experience. Played at Howard, 4-year letterman, wide receiver and punt return specialist. So he's done a lot here, right? So he's got the experience needed to help these Buffs get to where they really want to get to. Your next coach out there, you got coach. He's going to the new guys, right? Because from here, offensively, the only returner really here is Coach Flea Herold. We're going to move on into now the other position coaches that are all newer to said staff. You got Jason Phillips that comes in here, right? Jason Phillips, he's coming in as the wide receiver coach. And be honest, man, pretty big pickup for Prime, right? Last year, the last year's coach, which we'll talk about Brent in just a minute, Coach Brent, he's moved over into a new position. Jason Phillips comes in here. Now, when you look at his resume here, right? Coach Phillips has got a resume for you, right? He's spent some time all around the collegiate level. I mean, from just the likes of going out from he goes to the Vikings, Falcons, he's in the training camp rosters and everything. Texas State, Houston, Baylor, right? All the way up to, he spent some time at Jackson State, was at the Hamilton Tiger Cats for a bit. He was at Oregon State, Kansas. I'm telling you, man, he's got a combination of NFL coaching as well as college coaching experience at the wide receiver world, which is going to be big for what, like I said, the Buffs are trying to do. They're trying to bring that professional feel to what they're doing here in Boulder. In the playing career, right, he played for the Oilers. He played for the Detroit Lions. He played for the Falcons, right? And the cool thing is he spent those 2 years with the Lions to start, but he also played with Prime for 3 years for the Atlanta Falcons. So they're former teammates. And you'll see this trend coming down, right? That Prime is bringing up guys that he's played with and he knows pretty well inside out to help coach these players, because the whole point behind that is to give some consistency as well as a professional feel. So you got Coach Jason Phillips that's come into the line. Then they decide to add a new O-line coach. Coach Phil Loweholt will be replacing Coach Bill O'Boyle as the offensive line coach. Now, I've got an affinity to Coach Phil Loweholt because, I like the Oklahoma Sooners a lot. And so Coach Loweholt comes in. He spent some time at Oklahoma. He was an offensive assistant for a couple years. He was an offensive assistant at Ole Miss as well as UCF. So basically underneath a lot of guys that he worked with in his Oklahoma days, because he played college at Oklahoma, got drafted to the Minnesota Vikings, and he spent an extensive career there. He's a second-round pick, and he was there for a bit, man. Looking at that from 2009 to 2015, yeah, you cannot beat that with Coach Loweholt. He spent some time there in the NFL, but like I said, he was at Oklahoma, and so when his time from UCF, he was where with Jeff Lebby, assistant at Ole Miss with Jeff Lebby. He came to Oklahoma with Jeff Lebby, who he played with. You see the theme? Now, Jeff Lebby's the head coach at Mississippi State. He leaves Oklahoma, comes to Colorado, brings the experience of being able to recruit, especially learning underneath a offensive line coach like Bill Beatonbow, who's pretty infamous in the college ranks as an offensive line coach. He's put in a lot of dudes in the NFL. And Coach Loweholt's going to be doing a similar thing here at Colorado. I mean, look at the Jordan Seaton pickup, right? Got himself a 5-star offensive lineman as soon as he walks in the door. Basically showed him, hey, this is what we're going to do. And so that offensive line y'all were concerned about, Coach Loweholt's going to be able to fix that very, very quickly. And then, of course, Coach Brent Bartolone, he comes in. He's moved from wide receivers to the tight end coach, right? And Coach Bartolone, he was here, like I said, last season, wide receiver coach. He was at Jackson State as an offensive coordinator, right? But he spent some time at Nevada, at Charleston College, St. Lawrence. He spent some time around in the collegiate ranks. And so he's young, he's vibrant, and he's been exciting. And if you look at how the wide receivers produced last year, Brett's obviously going to be doing some big things, right, on the tight end side. So his goal is to revamp that tight end room, add some more talent to it, and do like he did with those wide receivers, because the wide receivers were sick last season. And the offense is going to be led by this guy, Pat Shurmur. Now, y'all know Pat Shurmur. He was an assistant last year. He was basically there helping out Coach Prime because, Shurmur coached Prime back in the day, right? So, seasoned NFL vet. He's held multiple head coaching positions from the Cleveland Browns to the New York Giants. He was also an OC for the Eagles, Vikings, and Giants, right? He's been around and he has a track record of developing quarterbacks, and that's what he's going to be doing. As offensive coordinator as well as the quarterback coach. He's going to be leading the way with that. And so looking at his resume, it's long, man, from Michigan State where he started, Stanford, and then he spent basically his entire career in the NFL and decided when Coach Prime called him and said, hey, look, I know that you're done with the NFL, but hey, I could use you here helping your boy out, helping us build this professional atmosphere for these players. And guess what Shurmur said? I got you, Prime. I got you. What'd he do? Boom. Head himself over there to Colorado. And, he has a big, love and affinity for Prime. And so this is why you see him here as the offensive coordinator. And so, like I said, Prime is doing everything that he needs to do to build a sustainable winner, build a big-time program. So let me know what y'all think on those offensive coaches. Hop in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. Love to hear from you all. Let's look at the defensive coaches now and see who Coach Prime has brought in, because this is where it gets new, right? Bringing in a lot of new coaches on the defensive side. Well, not as much. Mainly the offense is where you saw a big revamp, but defensively, he's bringing in still some of the greats. So in his return, Kevin Mathis makes his valiant return at the cornerback coach. Now, y'all know Kevin Mathis, right? I don't really need to say too much about him, but he spent some time at Jackson State with Coach Prime, and he also played with him on the Dallas Cowboys, right? So he's a seasoned veteran from the NFL. He spent some time with Prime, getting his coaching acumen up, and boom, he's here now as your cornerback coach. And last season, he Travis Hunter, as well as, he had Cormani McClain. Unfortunately, didn't work out, but he was able to pull some 5-stars, right? And they're working on continuously doing that, right? Him and Prime working together because they play together. You know that they're trying to make the magic happen. And so Going from him, you still got Coach Andre Hart, who's leading the linebackers there, mainly interiors, and he was there at Jackson State with Coach Prime, right? You know, he was an assistant there, and he was also at Trinity Christian High. Spent some time in the coaching ranks there, and has been with Coach Prime from the beginning. So, of course, keeping that continuity, which is big. Next up, Sal Sinceri. Now, this is funny because it feels like he's been there forever. In a way, he has. He's been there since March of 2023. So he comes in as a 38-year veteran in the coaching game. He coached at Bama twice. He was a DC at Tennessee at one point. He was a coach over at Florida State, right? You know, he spent some time with the Oakland Raiders. And the biggest thing about Coach Sinceri is he's got 4 national championships to his name in the collegiate ranks with Bama and with Florida State. So he knows what it looks like, what a winner looks like, what a natty team looks like. So Coach Prime brought him in because he's a very good recruiter as well, right? He brings in some good talent. So he's running the defensive tackles, a position that needs to be improved long term if you want to have sustainable success. Those trenches are critical. So him and Phil Lodehold are probably the 2 most important coaches right now that needs to continuously bring in guys that can do it. And Sinceri has been infamous for his ability to. Now, change that you've seen on the defensive side of the ball is going to be of Vincent Dancy. Now, he's going to be running the outside linebackers. He'll be an outside linebacker coach. And with Vincent, he spent time as head coach at Mississippi Valley State, right? He was at Jackson State back in the day, came out of pain. He was head coach at Mississippi Valley State for like 4 years. Coach Prime told him, hey, come be my quality control analyst for now. And then when I have a position open, I want to bring you up. And boom, here you go. Coach Dancy is now linebacker coach here at Colorado. And so bringing in some of that experience, he's bringing guys up, especially from the HBCU ranks, which is pretty cool to see that he's definitely reaching back for coaches that just need that additional experience and exposure. And here we go, right? Crazy? Not crazy, right? I know I'm not crazy. So, but he brings in a good wealth of knowledge, former head coach and everything. So he's going to be keying up that linebacker, the outside linebacker room and making it happen. But when you get to the defensive coordinator, that's when things really start jumping off, because that's when you got to start talking about Robert Livingston. Now, Robert's young, but boy, he's known in the ranks of coaches, right? He may not be known by you all, by the common folk, even myself, but he's known in the ranks of coaches, right? He had a long career in the NFL. He spent like 12 years with the Cincinnati Bengals, he went from Vanderbilt there. He was a scout to a special teams assistant coach, as well as being a defensive quality control. Then he went to secondary coach the last 7 years. So he's been secondary / safety coach last 7 years at the Cincinnati Bengals, and he comes here to Colorado as the defensive coordinator. So he'll be defensive coordinator and safeties coach here, right? So he'll be safeties coach and defensive coordinator for Colorado coming through next season, which is huge, right? So he'll be working, of course, close with Coach Prime. Coach Prime's a defensive coach, and their goal is to shore up this defense, modernize it, give some good terminology that the young players will get, while at the same time keeping a professional setting. This is why I emphasize this, that NFL setting and focus is critical to what Coach Prime is trying to succeed with. And so I got to give a shout out to the media team over there at Colorado, because they dropped this graphic, which I thought was pretty dope, right? We're looking at 16 coaches and staff members with NFL experience, because there's one more that we got to talk about here that, we got to think about whenever you're talking about that. But you got 159, which I think is interesting here to see, that 159 total seasons of NFL experience, right? And then, of course, you go down the list of it, 12 players, for coaches, you go through all of this list of everything, 167 games, 35 playoff appearances. Yeah, this staff is built, like I said, to be focused on the main thing, which is the main thing, and it's trying to be as successful as possible on the field regardless. All this NFL experience can translate to W's. And then so when you get into it and you get a little bit deeper, one additional piece that they added to the staff, not too long ago is they added our guy, Warren Sapp, right? Sapp comes in as an assistant coach. He's a defensive assistant, so quality control. He does multiple things there. But Hall of Famer Warren Sapp has joined the staff here at Colorado to add to this NFL experience and all the other coaches here that have done stuff in the league. Sapp being here is pretty huge for the defensive line, right? Again, I talked about this before. One of the things that's going to be critical for Colorado's success long term is how successful they are when it comes to the trenches. The trenches are critical, especially going into this Big 12, the bigger Big 12 that they have. That's where you need to make sure that your team has a sustainable ability to get to that quarterback and cause and be disruptive. And I think they'll be able to do that with Coach Prime and what he's doing here at Colorado. So that right there, Coach Prime, new staff, new people. Hop in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. How y'all feeling about this new staff? How you feeling about the new additions? What do you think about the defensive coordinators? Love to hear from you all and get your perspectives. If you made this far, you like the content, go ahead, hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. We would love for y'all to join this family of Buff fans. And so that's the coaching staff. I dropped a video, a few days ago up here. Check it out. We're talking about, Fine Bauman and got to say about the Buffs. And of course, go ahead and hit that subscribe button because we want y'all to join this family. All right. We'll have more videos soon. And we'll chop it up later.